As I build my coaching business, I want to know how to effectively serve clients and make more money doing it. This podcast will pull back the curtain to reveal exactly how successful coaches are building their empires. Join me as I engage with top coaches from all over the world to discover their secrets. No theatrics and no theory, just real life strategy. My name is William Winterton, and this is Coaching Success Radio. Hey, Coaching Success Radio. Welcome to today's podcast. Today, I am here with somebody she's out of New York, and she coaches survivors of domestic abuse. I've gotten to know her quite well, and she has a fantastic coaching business up and running. Her name is Karen Messina, and I'm excited to bring her onto the program. Karen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
I want to know, coaching survivors of domestic abuse, can you give me a little background about how you even got into that?
I am a survivor of domestic abuse, and I just have a passion for helping women. I am a paralegal, and I was working in a law firm, and I was trying to get my paralegal certificate or my degree. I had to do a certain amount of hours, and so they connected me with an attorney who was working with a woman who was working with survivors. And so the woman that she was helping kept calling me and talking with me, and the attorney said, "Wow, she's really connecting with you." And I thought, oh, okay. But the reason she was is because I knew where she had come from. I knew what she was suffering with, and I knew how she felt. And I also knew how to speak to her, because you can't just say anything. So that rolled into me being, passionate about helping more women like that. And once I helped her, she reached out to her friends and said, "Hey, call Karen, she'll help you." She really helped me. And so one thing led to the next, and I was helping survivors in my town like crazy.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this for over 20 years.
Wow.
I started off as an advocate, helping survivors of domestic abuse in the court system. And I did that for free for 20 years. But then I stopped doing that, and now I'm running a coaching business where I get paid to help people move from where they're at to where they want to be.
So having 20 years of experience in this, even though you weren't coaching at the time, and like you said, being a survivor yourself, there's clearly a passion and a drive for you to get people out of their situation and I guess get the freedom that they want of not being a victim anymore.
My passion about it is because I was suffering a lot when I was in my abusive relationship. And I know how it feels to be spoken to in a demeaning, belittling, and degrading way every day, to not have control over my finances, to not be able to even make a decision without running it by him, feeling like a prisoner in my own home. It was horrible. And when I saw these women getting out and trying to get out, but they just needed a little more help, I was like, I'm on it. I'm there for you. Like, there is no reason you have to live this way. I feel like I'm everybody's success story, because I could have gone down a very different path. I could have gotten on the system, welfare or whatever it is. I could have found another abusive partner, which sometimes happens, where you just don't get the support you need, and you just find yourself doing this again and again. So I just really am passionate about helping women realize that they have so much potential. It just got squashed down by this abusive partner.
When you're talking about survival and abuse, can you clarify like what an ideal client kind of a situation is? Is this somebody who has been through this recently? Is this something that they're going through right now? Is this somebody who's experienced this at some point in their life? Like, who do you tend to work with?
So I work with women who have been out of their abusive relationships, or even, let's just call it, extremely stressful relationships, because everybody's definition of abuse is different, to be honest. There are the people that get beat up, so that's bad. And then there's the ones that suffered with verbal abuse, financial abuse, all by itself is abuse. So I like to help women that have already made it out. They're living their life, they have jobs, they're doing whatever, but they are just unable to move past a certain area in their life because they never got the coaching or the help to make them realize that it's a root cause. It can be healed, it can be fixed, and you can move forward. they just get stuck in this space in their life and they can't see past it. So those are my ideal clients, the people that are just like, yeah, I got a job and I'm doing okay, but I just can't seem to move past this area of my life.
Obviously, this is a very sensitive issue, and I imagine that you don't have a lot of people who are just, hey, put my name and face out there and tell everybody how amazing this is. But is there a story that you could share, some anonymity about kind of some of the transition that you can take women through?
I can use me as an example because
Okay.
I'm a perfect example. So I was raised in an amazing family with my parents and, Catholic, Italian, had it all going on. But I had low self-esteem about something in my childhood. I had low self-esteem. So my parents didn't abuse me. I wasn't your classic, I've been abused, so now I'm always going to end up with an abuser. I had a beautiful childhood and a beautiful life, but I was very thin and I was very unattractive, so I thought. And somewhere along the line, I lost all of my self-worth and self-esteem. And so I didn't think I could find anybody better. And I went from living with my parents where my father did everything. And then I moved in with this guy who I thought, well, he's as good as I'm going to get, so I'm moving in with him. And then he started abusing me and whatever. And when I got out, I didn't know how to buy a car. I didn't know how to manage the bills. I didn't know how to do anything because my father did it for me. Then this guy was controlling me completely. I had to hand over my entire paycheck to him except for $20 of it. So I didn't even see my money then. And I was making pretty good money. So when I came out on the other end, I was like unable to function because I didn't know how to do basic things. I lost all of that along the way. So I didn't think I could find a man that would be worthy because I thought, oh, well, I'm an ugly duckling. For 3 years, I was with an abuser who told me that I was worthless pretty much every day, controlled everything that I wore, everything that I said when I was out in public. So think about that. Every time I had to weigh my words. So I was unable to be very social at a party. Once I was out and I was past all this, I was like an introvert because I was still afraid that I might say something that would get me into quote unquote trouble, right? So I was a perfect example of, I was stuck in that space. So I wasn't going for those good jobs because I felt worthless. I didn't think I could get a man that would want me. So I could have been stuck in that space forever, probably.
Wow. And so the women who are kind of stuck there, they know they are, but they're trapped. And even if they get out, that kind of thing will linger with you and kind of lay dormant in you for a long time. It sounds like even beyond the years of the relationship.
Yes. And if you don't have a coach, like I didn't have a coach, I didn't have a counselor, I didn't know about coaching. I knew about counseling, but you never think you need it. And it's embarrassing in the first place that this is even happening to you. And so many things just squash you down and you just feel so horrible. And like, I'm here to tell you that it is fixable and you can be healed and you can move on and you can have the life that you dream of. And I never thought I would be where I am right now, honestly. But there are people out there that do care, and having a coach like me, I'm one of those coaches that will walk the walk with you and hold your hand through it and take you out on the other side. The clients that I have now, I still am in contact with them all the time because it doesn't matter how well you're doing, something is going to come up at some point and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I better call Karen because I feel like this is a trigger of some sort. Right? You could be doing 95%. I mean, even me, I have triggers all the time, but I know how to manage them. I've learned all the techniques. So that's the beauty of coaching.
If you're in the situation where you've been out for a while, but maybe you're still getting triggered or still getting, feeling like, you're like you said, you're being held back by your own thoughts of what you experienced. Is there anything that people can do to kind of help themselves out a little bit?
Well, I have a self-coaching model that I offer to people, and it works beautifully. You really have to try to remember that what happened is in the past, and this is just a simple basic. What happened in the past,
understood. Yeah.
Right? It's over and done with, and the only place that your past lives is in your thoughts, right? And just thinking about this all by itself makes you feel so much better. I always say to people, your past is alive and well because you're keeping it alive and well by thinking about it every day, right? And we don't want to forget about it. It's not like it didn't ever happen, but it is controlling your life. So trying to put a new thought in your brain instead of thinking of the old thoughts all the time is so helpful. Right away, you're like, this is over and done with. It no longer has power over me. And just saying those affirmations, like wake up every morning, you're starting to feel a little anxious. You're like, the past is over. It no longer has power over me. I'm in control of me. That is my advice to anybody who's like, gosh, I just don't even know where to start. Start there. I can say that most of the people I work with, they, even after the one clarity call that I have with them, they feel better right away. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. It gives you hope, that there is a thing that can happen that can make you feel better. So I like to get people turned around right away. I am future focused. So we identify the past, but we move towards the future. So there's no sitting around talking about what happened. We want to talk about, what is it that you want? What's your goal now? What are you struggling with? Let's move in that direction. And that's what I like to focus on. That's why people like to work with me, because they tell me all the time, I have never had anything to do after going to the therapist. Like, I just left, I felt crappy, and I didn't really have anything to do until my next appointment. But I want people to be working on things and calling me and texting me and me reaching out to them saying, hey, how's your week going? Are you struggling with anything? I mean, that's what coaching is about, in my opinion.
Nobody is excluded from this in terms of who could really benefit from this kind of coaching. Am I right?
Right. And I think that people have unhealed and unidentified emotional traumas in their life and they don't realize it. They could have been a child in school and had an incident that happened that they were deeply embarrassed by, and then forever that stuck with them, and they never had coaching, they never had counseling. They didn't even realize that they buried it down so deep that when they became an adult, they were stunted at that age because they're embarrassed at whatever it was that happened, and they become an adult. So you could be emotionally traumatized by just about anything. So it doesn't really matter if you were a survivor of domestic abuse. You could have been a survivor of horrible siblings, or you had a roommate you moved in with who thought it was great to treat you like trash, and so you became a victim in that situation. So you could be a survivor of just about anything and be unable to move past it. My job is to help you move past it. That's
really, really powerful.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because I can already relate. There's so much stuff that even in my life, I don't think of myself as somebody who had to would say that was abused, but I can certainly think of times when I was like, man, this was really something difficult to get over. Just awkward relationships in junior high school or something like that, where I was a younger kid than everybody else in my class. I was born in June, so everybody else in my class was they were turning 14 and I was still 13 for a year, that kind of like that, right? So I was constantly picked on, and it's hard. Like you go through that and you don't think that maybe it's just just get over it, but there is a lot of stuff, and it sounds like you're basically able to help people get to realize that, and then just like you said, forward focus on the future, right? And
and it's so much more than just something happened to me and now I'm stuck in this problem. It's people, when we talk about it, they realize, hey, this is what happened to me, and this is why I chose that horrible partner, or this is why I allowed people to treat me this way. I talk a lot about boundaries and setting up boundaries for your life. Like, you may have let stuff happen and you didn't even really realize it. Like for me, and the more I coach people, the more I realize, when I was younger, we're Italian, I'm Italian, and I just happened to be very thin and very pale when I was born, and my hair was blonde. My brothers got black hair, my father had black hair, and so I had very light hair, and so my parents used to think it was kind of funny to say, oh, we thought she was not our baby, and we told the nurse, maybe you should find our baby, right? Well, when you're a little girl, they're telling that story to get a laugh, but it affected me deeply. That's probably where it started, with my low self-esteem about myself. And then my aunt used to call me Skinny Minnie with the meatball eyes, and everyone would laugh. Well, when you're like 11 or 12 and you're trying to look beautiful and someone says that, you're like, what does that even mean? So I had a lot of insecurities as a child about my appearance. So therefore I wasn't being smart about my partners. I was just settling for whoever liked me. And unfortunately, the first person who liked me was an abuser.
Karen, I tell you what, I'm so excited for you. I'm thrilled that you're able to help these people out. And I would highly recommend anybody who's listening to, if you have any thought that maybe this is something you're being challenged with, a struggle you're having, I would at least call. You said you have a free strategy session, free consultation call of some sort?
Yeah, I have. And if you go on my website, you can just click free mini session and you can sign up for that. And yes, right now I have about 9 spots now left for a free strategy session. So I'd hop on and let's talk all about your problems, because I'm pretty sure I can get you going in the right direction.
Karen, it's been great. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out. New episodes are coming out every few days, including lots of conversations with massively successful coaches sharing their secrets with you. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel so that you don't miss out. And if you're looking for a way to start making serious money from your coaching, you need to check out my free training. It's at williamwinterton.com. I lay out the step-by-step on how to start making 5 figures a month in the next 60 days. Check it out, williamwinterton.com. I'll see you next time.